This is Texas News Now, sponsored by Germania Insurance.
Hello there, Mia Grady here with a look at what's making headlines in Houston. Starting with Houston police searching for a driver they say hit and killed an off-duty Fort Bend County deputy. Investigators say 51-year-old Kenneth Lewis was struck while helping others on the side of the road over the weekend. The sheriff calls it a devastating loss, and as Anayeli Ruiz found out, he survived a different roadside crash several years ago.
Well, the sheriff says Lewis was working off duty on Saturday, was headed home when he noticed somebody was stranded on the side of I-10. He pulled over to help, and that's when he was hit by a vehicle that didn't stop. Lewis died 2 days later. 51-year-old Deputy Kenneth Lewis remembered tonight for more than just a badge. He was known for his kindness.
He was over 6 foot tall, but a gentle giant. Someone that always had a smile on his face and a kind word for anyone.
But also for his faith in God.
He was a man of faith, and a man of service. That's the main thing I want everyone to know.
A man of faith, in fact. He once said that same faith saved his life. See, back in 2014, an alleged drunk driver slammed into the back of his patrol vehicle. In a split second, he jumped 30 feet off a bridge.
And I thought in my head, well, maybe I should just sit on the edge. But I swear I heard God's voice say, go for it.
That's Kenneth Lewis. In an interview with KHOU, miraculously, he survived.
I landed in a grassy, muddy area, and I missed all the concrete blocks. There was one point when I was laying on my back, and people were with flashlights around me. I had a big block, not even just a couple inches away from my shoulder.
Weeks later, and in recovery, he gave credit to one being.
I was a Christian. I believe it was God saying, go for it, because had I stayed there, I would have been run over by the patrol vehicle.
That faith never left him. Neither did his instinct to serve. The Missouri City Police Department saying he will be remembered as a kind and gentle soul who was devoted and committed to the residents of Missouri City. He was a selfless individual who put the needs of others before his own. Selfless indeed, because even off duty, just driving home, Kenneth Lewis stopped to help someone in need, just like he always did.
A person that cares, a person that would risk his life to protect others.
He risked it all in 2014 and again in 2026, stopping for someone who needed it. A true hero until his very last moment. Well, HPD is leading that investigation. They say preliminary information shows that possibly a black or dark colored Honda sedan may have been involved in the incident. If you have any information, you're told to contact the Houston Police Department or Crime Stoppers. In Fort Bend County, Anayeli Ruiz, KHOU 11 News.
Illegal dumping. It is a problem plaguing many Houston neighborhoods for many years. And local officials say it's not just unsightly, it's also a health hazard, disproportionately affecting Houston's low-income communities. But now, a story of success and how residents are taking back their neighborhoods. Here's Matt Doherty.
For years, neighbors in Glenwood Forest have been dealing with images like this.
We need to let the public know that it's unacceptable.
We sat down with Houston Mayor John Whitmire today, who says he's made combating illegal dumping a priority of his administration.
People from that community dumping in their own community, or is it people from the outside coming in and?
A little of both. Some in the community, some are landlords that evict people, put all of their furniture out in the front yard.
When the neighbors in Glenwood Forest saw the dumping continue, despite the city's efforts to crack down on the illegal practice, they decided to take action.
It's a game changer, man. It works.
The Whitmobile! PJ Jones is the vice president of the Glenwood Forest Civic Association.
We're looking for illegal dumping spots to get ready to report. We're looking for blighted homes.
A few years ago, PJ and the other members decided to get their own patrol car to catch the dumpers in the act. They named it after the mayor himself.
And they were so proud of a vehicle that they had painted, calling it the Whitmobile.
When that Whitmobile comes around that corner and we visible, it combats a lot of this illegal dumping.
After watching their success winning back their neighborhood, the mayor decided they could use an upgrade.
They had such an old worn out vehicle that we got busy and talked to HPD about a used vehicles.
And for the first time today, the mayor got to inspect the Citizen Patrol unit bearing his name.
How we're going to clean up Houston by, it's kind of a force multiplier. So we're doing everything we can in my administration to clean up illegal dumping. But then when you see the community rise up, it just inspires you to do more.
In downtown, I'm Matt Doherty, KHOU 11 News.
Only in Texas, a loose bull in a Hockley neighborhood is turning heads and understandably raising concern. Homeowners have been seeing the massive animal for days and suspect he escaped from a nearby pasture. They tell Katira Winfrey he's a beautiful animal, but shouldn't be roaming free.
Robin Road in Hockley has practically turned into an open range for this solo bull. No one knows his name, but mostly everyone and their cameras have seen him.
Oh, he's gorgeous.
Sandy McDonald says her dog first alerted her.
He started raising Cain. So I walked out to the porch, and here comes this big old black bull.
Depending on who you ask, he's been spotted several times over a couple weeks. He's been eating bushes, drinking from bird baths. At first, it was a shock.
If you saw that bull up close, guarantee you he'd scare you bad.
But now there's some concern, particularly with the nearby highway 2920.
These people drive 60, 70, 80 miles an hour down that road, and if they can't see that bull and they hit it, it'll roll right up and go through the windshield.
The Harris County Sheriff's Office says they haven't been able to get in touch with the leaseholder for this pasture, but they do believe the bull has been getting out through a break somewhere in the fence. And while they are still working to catch the bull while it's loose, any injuries or damage it causes would fall back on the leasee. He's been caught on camera and still hasn't been captured. Community members say the sheriff's office is extremely responsive, but so far, no one's managed to grab the bull by the horns.
And I came out, and he was standing right by my pickup.
McDonald says a bull spotted along 2920 was safely corralled not long ago. Until this one is too, neighbors say they're staying alert.
You watch yourselves when you go out, kind of look around.
Reporting in Hockley, Katira Winfrey, KHOU 11 News.
With the rodeo in town, hopefully they can get some expert help. And with that, that's a wrap of your Houston headlines. I'm Mia Gradney.
I'm Chris Lawrence with the top stories in North Texas. According to court documents, a figure skating coach groomed children before sexually assaulting them. And attorneys just told Richard Solomon there could be more victims out there.
From the ice skating rink to now a jail cell. Right now, well-known figure skating coach Benjamin Schroetz is charged with indecency with the child and sexual assault.
Sexual predators will put themselves in a position to take advantage of young people.
Zeke Fortenberry represents the victims, two athletes that came forward.
It's hard for anyone to come forward. But it's particularly hard when it's your coach who's abusing you.
According to these new arrest affidavits, Schroetz maintained a position of authority and trust over the victim throughout her childhood and adolescence. This was for both the victims. One charge stems from alleged conduct between May or June of 2020. The affidavit says the conduct allegedly happened during times when the victims were receiving coaching or training, and says earlier this month during a voluntary interview with the detectives, Schroetz admitted to touching the athlete on multiple occasions accidentally during what he described as horseplay. He denied other allegations and insisted all these acts happened when the victim was an adult. The second charge involves a different alleged victim. Documents say the alleged abuse occurred between December 2024 and September 2025 during training and private workouts. The victim described feeling pressured to meet alone. During questioning, investigators say he admitted he had a sexual relationship with the victim. I've reached out to Schroetz's attorney, but as of now, I've not yet heard back.
It wouldn't surprise me if there was other girls.
Fortenberry says the details laid out in the affidavits only strengthen his client's case.
The most important thing is the affirmation that the girls are telling the truth.
And that's the justice he hopes to get for them. In Dallas, I'm Richard Solomon.
Are on trial right now, accused of attacking an ICE detention center in Colorado, in Alvarado. As Scoop Jefferson reports, while jurors heard from ICE officers and an FBI agent, protesters converged on the courthouse in Fort Worth.
A woman who helped plan last year's protest that turned violent outside the Prairie Land Detention Center took the witness stand on behalf of prosecutors. She told the jury that she invited people to the protest using social media. Now 9 people are on trial here at the federal courthouse in downtown Fort Worth, where prosecutors say they ambushed police officers at the detention center. Prosecutors say the protesters used fireworks last July 4th to create a diversion outside the center. During their demonstration, prosecutors accused protester Benjamin Song of shooting Alvarado Police Lieutenant Thomas Gross in the neck. Gross was one of the first people to testify this week. The charges for the 9 defendants range from rioting to attempted murder of officers. Their attorneys argue their clients engaged in protest, not violence. Homeland Security police officers have increased their presence at the courthouse during the trial. The defendants' family, friends, and supporters are also set up outside the courthouse, even raising money for legal fees. Jurors have also heard from one of the FBI agents responsible for investigating the case, and I'm told prosecutors have a long witness list of officers who responded to the scene last July. That's one of the reasons the judge expects the trial to last up to 3 weeks. In downtown Fort Worth, I'm Scoop Jefferson.
Well, for years, we've been promised a unique green space at Fair Park, and now Kevin Reese shows us what the Dallas City Council just approved.
After years of delay and, for that matter, decades of distrust, parking lot 10 here at Fair Park will become a community park, something residents of South Dallas have been fighting for, both with their future and their ancestors in mind. Back in the 1960s and 70s, there were homes here. Dallas used eminent domain to tear down those houses to make way for parking lots. And for the last decade, there's been a push to turn at least one of these parking lots into a community park, something to bring back fresh air, open space, and community pride. Wednesday, the Dallas City Council voted to move forward, striking an agreement with the group Fair Park First. And 90% of the $40 million needed has already been raised through state, federal, and private sources.
I'm grateful to the community leaders and elected officials who stepped up and said, this is our responsibility, who championed this project not because it was politically convenient, but because it was morally necessary.
Now, today, I get to see at least something that could possibly elevate the community that I live in.
There is no definite timetable for construction of the 10-acre park. Organizers, however, say they hope to raise the final 10% of the funding they need in the next 6 months. In Dallas, I'm Kevin Reese.
Well, this video from Paris, Texas has gone viral. A Whataburger manager used a trash can to take down an angry customer. Police say he asked the customer to leave when he started verbally abusing the staff and threatened them. But investigators say the guy left, came back, and punched the manager. Officers eventually arrested that customer, who's charged with assault and public intoxication. Okay, the place we're about to show you doesn't scream great sushi here. But as Sean Giggy discovered, there's a reason you don't judge a book by its cover.
Good morning.
According to regulars, this is where you'll find the best sushi in North Texas.
That's right.
A place so exclusive, most people can't or won't even attempt getting there. But those who do are often faced with a choice. Unleaded or premium?
We're a gas station that serves sushi. Best sushi you can find.
It's not just a gas station. It's a gas station in the middle of nowhere. The Bristol General Store, just outside Ennis, has been serving sushi for 20 years. But why? The answer can be found just above the price of unleaded. Back in 2006, a couple from South Korea wanted to open a sushi restaurant closer to Dallas, but couldn't afford it. But they could get a loan for this place. And for more than 15 years, their gas station sushi got rave reviews. Until a few years ago, when they decided to retire. That's when they reached out to a couple of regulars, realtors Eric and Jennifer Keithley, to help sell the place.
And we were going to list it. Jennifer said, I think I want to buy that. And I just kept driving and ignored her.
Eric eventually relented.
It was the best, probably one of the best decisions we made, so.
It assured them their favorite sushi spot wouldn't close. They trained under the previous owners and retained the staff. But more importantly, selling sushi in the middle of nowhere dramatically increased their appetite for kindness.
The love that is here, if I ask for anything, from the community, they're going to do it.
Which prompted Eric and Jennifer to do the same. They gave away coats when it's cold and nourishment when it's needed. Who knew gas station sushi could be so good?
I would say I'm a lot better person for owning this place than before.
Immediately changed me, and I know I'm a better person because of it.
The Bristol General Store. Whether you're here for food or fuel, come empty and leave full.
That's right. It's good seeing you again.
In Bristol, I'm Sean Giggy.
Definitely worth giving it a shot. And those are your headlines from North Texas.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
For Texas News Now weather, I'm Bill Taylor. I'd like to begin with a little bit of airport travel weather in case you are flying the friendly skies of this great country. You know, South Texas, North Texas, any direction you're flying in the great state of Texas is problem-free. We are hot, we are dry, but if you're going across the country, the problem spot's going to be the nation's capital and Atlanta through Thursday. And then on Friday, things really clear up for most of the nation's airports. And even on Saturday, not looking too bad at all. And we're going to be keeping a closer eye on this. I mean, you can see Chicago's got a chance, Miami, not too bad on, again, Friday, Saturday. But again, keep an eye on travel weather because here comes spring break. It won't be long. All right, high pressure in control. And this is off to the west of Texas, but still deflecting everything well to the north. And this high is going to be just slowly migrating east. It's what's really keeping us hot, dry. We still get some mid and upper level moisture you can see right here on water vapor, but not a substantial amount. This is leading to some high clouds, but no precipitation in the forecast until this high moves away. Here's the pattern shift, okay? Here's the high as just shown on water vapor. Watch what happens as it starts to migrate slowly to the east. It begins to flatten out and we go to a bit of a zonal flow where the upper level winds are just west to east. But then that opens the door. Once that high is out and we get this southwest flow, we get a couple of those upper level disturbances that roll in our direction and we get a pattern shift as we move into March. And that's going to spell out some rain chances. Now, there will be a front, by the way, on Thursday. And each day as we've gotten closer, it's kicking up less and less rain for East Texas. So today you can see that it's just a few showers. I mean, that's about it. Most of it's in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama as the front pushes through Thursday night. This front won't be a cold front. It'll be maybe a not as hot front, okay, because temperatures really won't be going down too much. But precipitation is going to start picking up once we get into March. Here's the first Monday of March, North Texas, a little bit of rain available for you. But then look at this, a little bit more widespread as we get into midweek next week and then even into Thursday, Friday. Some rain coverage, mainly north where we don't need the rain as much. But here's the good news. This pattern is changing and we've got an above average forecast on rainfall for almost the entire state and then a little bit more of above to above average. You know, like A++ there in North Texas. This again over the next 7 to 10 days. It would really help out. It would really help out. Now, temperatures, you can see that most of the Arctic air is just bottled up to the north. We're really not looking at too much of a change on this hot winter heat wave. I mean, robbing old man winter, maybe a few temperature drops up around the panhandle, but not very much. But back to the rain situation, about a third of the state is under extreme to even exceptional drought. We've got to shift most of that rain a little farther to the south. It looks like the best chances are going to be in North Texas as that pattern shift begins heading into March. The extended forecast in the great state of Texas. No big changes through the weekend. It's going to be hot. It's going to be dry. 101 in McAllen, Texas on Thursday. Incredible for late February, right? A lot of 90s, a lot of mid to upper 80s out there, but some rain chances will begin middle part of next week. For Texas News Now weather, I'm Bill Taylor.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at termediainsurance.com.
I'm Bailey Bates. Here are your headlines from Central Texas. 2 men are in custody for the death of Fort Hood soldier Gregory Waddell Morales 6 years after his disappearance. His loved ones had few answers but kept holding on to hope that one day justice would be served. The Killeen Police Department announced the murder charges against 27-year-old Darion Brown and 28-year-old Darius Nobles. Our Sydney Walker sat down with the lead investigator and the soldier's mother on how we got here.
Over 6 years after a Fort Hood soldier vanished, 2 men are behind bars.
I had a lot of faith in this case from the very beginning. I was expecting for us to get to this at some point. I just didn't know when.
Detective Jonathan Mueller led the case for Killeen PD.
Multiple search warrants, going through phone logs, phone records, people that he contacted. It's just endless interviews.
Working alongside multiple agencies, including Fort Hood CID and Texas DPS.
Obviously, nothing's fresh. So 48 hours is a real thing. Just keep going, keep looking at all the leads and just follow it.
Months of work just to get the evidence.
I believe we had our suspects probably within the first 2 months of his remains being located. At that point, it was just actually proving that they did do it.
And to bring peace to a grieving mother.
As a mom, every time somebody else that Greg grew up with hits a milestone, I think Greg should have had that.
Kim Weddle never thought this day would come.
I really thought nobody was listening to me.
She's been on a roller coaster of emotions for almost 7 years.
I felt I should have done something better or more to protect him, as he ended up dead in a field from a gunshot wound to his head.
And finally, a note from KPD in December.
I didn't get a lot of information. I didn't get names, of course, or anything.
An arrest.
I've gotten a bunch of messages from all Greg's friends down there, and they're like, they don't have a clue who these 2 people are.
Made in part with the help from a suspect.
One of the suspects did share a lot of information. It's not often that you have someone who's involved in a murder show remorse for his actions.
Mueller and his team are celebrating today, but not for them.
Family closure is the biggest thing for us.
Even though the loss will never be made right.
It's just a lot. Every day you wake up and it's another day without him.
It's one step closer to an answer.
I just kind of need to know why these 2 guys decided Greg's life wasn't worth living.
Both Nobles and Brown will need to be extradited to Bell County because they're in other parts of the state right now. Detective Mueller says the investigation remains active and additional suspects have not been ruled out. A new federal rule that could have cut disability benefits for thousands of veterans is now on hold. The policy would have tied veterans' disability ratings to how well their medication works, not the condition itself. Our Juliana Jackson talked to veterans who say while they are relieved tonight, they are not letting their guard down.
Jimmy Douglas doesn't take what he has lightly.
Been as a civilian in a sense, but we're never not serving. We're always serving, even though we're not in uniform.
Douglas served in the U.S. Air Force during the Vietnam War, and like so many veterans, he spent years quietly carrying the weight of his service.
It's so difficult to get a disability rating. You have to actually prove that it's there.
A new federal rule surfaced that would have based veterans' disability ratings on how well they function on medication rather than the condition.
Have someone come along and say, no, we're not going to allow this now. That condition still exists.
For veterans battling PTSD, chronic pain, and mental health conditions, this rule would have backtracked years of pain.
Without it, it causes us to go back into that dark place that we try to stay away from.
After Vietnam, Douglas says he pushed his pain down for years. It wasn't until he found the VFW that he began to understand it.
I tell people all the time, I serve not because of the pleasure, because it was my duty.
Douglas says at least 10 members of his post wrote directly to Senators John Cornyn and Ted Cruz demanding action.
But when I say I represent 370 veterans that are actively looking to have a voice, and we want you to carry our voice to the folks that make it happen.
While the ruling is halted, it's not completely thrown out. And for Douglas and veterans nationwide, their fight isn't over.
We're not asking for a handout. We're not asking for a gift. We're just asking for things to help us work as a normal person.
Those are your headlines from Central Texas.
In Austin, I'm Mark Mullins. A local 10-year-old boy has a vision for the future. He's creating glasses powered by artificial intelligence to help visually impaired students. KVU's Jessica Cha visited the Harmony Science Academy in Leander Wednesday to learn how these glasses work.
A lot of 10-year-olds are into hanging out with friends or playing games.
Yeah, let me turn this on.
But Harmony Science Academy 5th grader Lucas Tudor is also really into entrepreneurship.
You never know till you try. So make a big aspiration and then figure out where you're going to go from there.
So when the Greater Austin Regional Science and Engineering Fair came around, he knew he wanted to create something that could make a difference.
There's 7 million visually impaired people in the U.S. and only 7% of children under 18 in the U.S. have a diagnosed vision condition.
And with a lack of options to help visually impaired kids navigate daily life.
There's LiDAR, there's canes, there's dogs, there's even humans, but none of them really specifically help children.
He built AIs, AI-powered computer vision glasses.
Person at 3 steps.
Can you hear it?
Table at 3 steps. Remote at 15 steps.
Are you sure it's not muffled? It's a camera mounted onto a pair of glasses, running into a Raspberry Pi, running a computer vision software that I made and put onto the SD card.
The software uses the camera to scan 2 images to check for shadows and detect objects, and uses a Bluetooth audio device.
It's telling me dining table at 7 steps, chair at 11 steps.
With the prototype done, Lucas says he's wanting to bring more attention to his product and is setting his sights on something bigger.
I emailed all the CEOs of EEG companies, and I had them see if they could sponsor me.
He wanted a way to turn off the Bluetooth voice hands-free when needed. And one CEO responded, agreeing to send an MN8 unit, wireless earbuds that track your brainwaves.
And I'm going to use it so like when you are concentrating or talking, it'll silence the voice, and then you can focus and do what you're doing.
Next, his sights are on partnering with other companies to manufacture AIs for the public.
It makes me feel good because I can know that I can make a real impact even though I'm not a professional or an adult.
Pretty cool for a 10-year-old. In Leander, Jessica Cha, KVU News.
Awesome to see that. Buda police issued a rabies alert after a skunk found last Friday tested positive for that virus. The rabid skunk was found on a commercial drive west of I-35. Hays County is seeing more rabies cases, but police say this is the first case within Buda city limits in recent history. No human exposures have been reported. If you see a wild animal acting strangely, call animal control. St. Edward's University in South Austin is in need of a new leader. President Montserrat Fuentes announced that she is stepping down this summer after 5 years of leading the Catholic university. In a letter sent to the university community, President Fuentes did not give a reason for resigning, but called her time at the helm, quote, one of the greatest honors of my life, end quote. Traffic relief is coming to a busy stretch of Highway 183 in northwest Austin. The southbound 183 express lanes are set to open this Saturday. Going forward, drivers will be able to decide whether they want to use the 2 toll lanes or the 4 non-tolled lanes on 183 southbound. The northbound express lanes are already open. Officials with the Central Texas Regional Mobility Authority say this will help drivers who commute from Cedar Park and Leander to Austin. Construction started almost 5 years ago. As we celebrate Black History Month, we walk alongside a Texan with deep Austin roots. In fact, we explore a couple of spots in Austin's Black Cultural District with a man who not only has a passion for history, but also 33 years as a local tour guide under his belt. At 70 years old,
born and raised here in Austin, Texas, in East Austin,
Harrison Eppright knows everything there is to know about the place where he has spent 7 decades. His passion for history evolved into his vocation.
Well, I am manager of visitor services and tour ambassador for Visit Austin.
And whether you're a newcomer or an old-timer in Austin, his message is the same.
Get to know the people, get to know the places, get to know the culture.
On this day, we get to know a place known as 6 Square in East Austin.
6 Square, Austin's Black Cultural District.
A place created in 1928 to unofficially foster segregation in the City of Austin Master Plan.
6 Square, meaning originally the 6 square miles that were designated, proposed as being the Negro District.
Bordered on the north by Manor Road, Airport Boulevard on the east,
East 7th Street marks the southern border of 6 Square, and East Avenue in the west, which is now the I-35 frontage road.
We are sitting in the middle of 6 Square, yes, we are.
It's where you'll find this little building with a storied history.
Prior to that, the colored branch of the Austin Public Library, and prior to that, the Austin Public Library in downtown Austin.
The small library opened in 1926 and sat downtown on a spot at West 9th and Guadalupe Streets until the city built a larger library downtown in 1933.
Just one little problem. Black Austinites could not check books out of that library. That's right.
Black citizens petitioned the city to establish a public library for Black Austinites to use. And after a coordinated effort, the city moved this building to its current home in 6 Square.
It opened here on Angelina Street in 1933 as the colored branch of the Austin Public Library.
That's what it was called.
That's right, the colored branch, exactly.
Austin's first branch library, serving the city's black population, would come to be known as the George Washington Carver branch. Just feet away.
Yeah, these statues were originally supposed to be displayed on the grounds of the Texas State Capitol.
Harrison shows us the Emancipation Garden behind the Carver Museum and a collection of statues commemorating the moment Texas slaves learned they had been freed.
You've got the orator holding a document, the Emancipation Proclamation document, and so he makes a gesture to the minister. So he's passing it, he's telling the minister about it, and then the minister turns and he's telling this husband and wife about the emancipation. And so then the mother turns to her daughter, raising her arms, telling her daughter about freedom. That's right. And then ideally she should turn to us, where we stand on this pedestal, any of us, and we receive the message of freedom.
Just 2 stops in an East Austin neighborhood rich with cultural history, told by a man who himself is a living Austin monument, urging anyone who calls Austin home now to learn its past in order to enjoy its future.
6 Square has so much to offer. Harrison also led us to the historic Wesley United Methodist Church, the spiritual home of some of the city's black prominent families over the decades. He also points us to Houston Tillotson University as a must-see. The University of Texas just received a $9 million grant from the Texas Space Commission to fund a new aerospace lab on campus. It will be the first university in the country to work directly with the U.S. Space Force. The new lab will use the university's high-performance computers to track satellites and space debris. It will also be used to detect potential threats to U.S. assets while in orbit. Researchers will partner with industry and government leaders, giving students hands-on experience in space security. Officials say the project aims to boost national defense while positioning Texas as a hub for space technology research. Those are the headlines in Austin. I'm Mark Mullins.
And here are your headlines from Southeast Texas. I'm Mark Armstrong. 12 News, your election headquarters. A race is shaping up in Jefferson County, Precinct 4, where voters are going to decide who's going to serve as their next Justice of the Peace. Incumbent Judge Justin Chasson, he is seeking another term, but his challenger, Marcelo Molfino, says that it is time for a new approach. 12 News reporter Spencer Plato, she spoke with both candidates about what they plan to bring to the bench.
This is the next step, I think, to help grow our community, especially in Precinct 4, for the needs of that office and what the need of the community is.
A race for who will hold the gavel next in Jefferson County Precinct 4. Longtime community member Marcelo Molfino is challenging incumbent Justice of the Peace Justin Chasson, arguing growth in the precinct calls for a new approach on the bench.
With that growth comes problems in our schools, our teenagers, our young adults, even our parents. There is substance abuse, there is mental health issues, there is all different kinds of things that the court doesn't have to just impose a sentence or cause a fine.
Molfino says he wants to make court more accessible.
We're going to try and facilitate having court out here in China so that people don't have to drive 20 miles all the way back to Finette, so that people can receive representation right where they live.
But throughout his 4-year term, Judge Chasson says his time on the bench has delivered stability.
This office is the only office in the county that ends up in the positive every year.
Chasson says fairness is the foundation of his courtroom.
I have a deep feeling in my body that, I am a fair and honest person to every person that walks into this courtroom.
He says the court isn't just fair, it's efficient.
Spent some money this past year on upgrading some stuff, some computer stuff and display screens and stuff like that we have in the courtroom for cases.
For Molfino, he leaves voters with one final message.
If you want your voice heard, if you have an opinion, then you have to vote to make that heard.
And that was Spencer Plato reporting. Early voting is going to run until Friday, and you can watch both candidates' full-length interviews on 12 News Plus. Well, Beaumont police, they say 17-year-old shot and killed behind a Family Dollar last week was part of a group trying to rob a man. Investigators say that Jason January and 3 others, they attacked the intended victim, who then returned fire, striking January. Another 17-year-old, he's been arrested in all this, but 2 juvenile suspects, ages 16 and 15, still on the run. Police are asking anyone with information to call Beaumont Police or Crime Stoppers. Newton County started paying back the state more than $800,000 tied to flood grants that they received between 2018 and 2020. Newton County Judge Ronnie Cochran says the repayments, they're not going to impact future taxpayers. 12 News reporter Daniela Tapata-Palau, she spoke to the current and past Newton County judges about what led up to this moment.
My biggest issue with that is that this has drug out too long.
Newton County residents are raising questions.
Why did our not past commissioners, past representatives from the county not get this done?
Newton County received a FEMA flood buyout grant to purchase and demolish 7 properties from 2018 to 2020. But former County Judge Kenneth Weeks said delays including COVID and even purchasing the properties pushed the project back while he was in office.
They had to meet certain requirements that TDM or FEMA had set for guidelines in which we bought out property. And so some was denied and that type of stuff. So it's it takes time to get all that accomplished.
Weeks had applied for extensions, receiving them for 2 years. But when Cochran came into office in 2023, his extension was denied that year. The homes have been demolished, but Newton County still must repay the state $806,000. Judge Cochran says down payment of $225,000 will come out of the county's rainy day fund.
No tax dollars, as far as people paying property tax, will be used for this payback. We will use the property sales that was purchased in the buyout to totally repay Texas Department of Emergency Management.
Newton County resident Mark Norton says although he feels the situation was dragged out, he's glad action is finally being taken.
I agree with what they decided today, but it should have never came to this. Should have been done years ago.
And that was Daniela Tapata-Palau reporting. Judge Cochran says the county is going to be put on a payment plan to pay out the rest. Now, it's also important to note that Judge Cochran, he is seeking re-election this March, running against Lee Filia. And those were your headlines from Southeast Texas.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.
I'm Isis Romero, and this is the news in San Antonio. A 30-year-old man is arrested and charged after a crash that severely injured a pregnant woman and led to her baby's death. Rania Kaur has the latest.
Deputies say this crash was caused by speeding and possible intoxication, and investigators say more charges could be on the way. This crash happened at the intersection of Woodlake Parkway and Binns Engelman Road on February 19th. The Bexar County Sheriff's Office says Alexander Diaz Mendoza was speeding and blew through a red light, causing a 4-car crash. An arrest warrant states Diaz Mendoza was going 75 miles per hour in a 40-mile-per-hour zone at the time. The crash was so severe, one of the cars involved flipped into a ditch. The pregnant woman was taken into the hospital and the baby had to be delivered by cesarean section. The baby passed away. The mother had multiple injuries, including a fractured pelvis, broken ribs, and internal bleeding. Deputies say at the scene, Diaz Mendoza was slurring his words, smelled of alcohol, and inside of his car was an open bottle of beer. Sheriff Javier Salazar said that more charges could be coming.
Now, we are still waiting on the results of the intoxilizer, and once we obtain those results, if indeed it does show that he was intoxicated to that level, and that directly led to the charge of to the death of the child, he may additionally face charges of intoxication manslaughter in connection with the baby as well.
Right now, Diaz Mendoza is charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Sheriff Salazar says those charges are based on the woman's injuries. Of course, we'll keep you updated if anything changes on air and online. Rania Kaur, KENS 5.
A carjacking attempt on the southwest side ended with 2 people behind bars. As Vanessa Croy reports, a father stepped in when his son was threatened at gunpoint inside their home.
Right now, we do know a shooting happened in the southwest side neighborhood, but detectives tell us they have a lot to sort out exactly how it all happened. You can see the scene behind us is very active, but this is what detectives tell us they know right now. A car spinning out, shots fired, and then 2 suspects in custody. Just before 10:30 this morning, San Antonio police were swarming this southwest side neighborhood. Investigators say a father and his son were inside their home when 2 suspects, also in the home, suddenly pulled guns on the son. The father then tried to intervene, police say, and that's when there was a struggle over the guns. Detectives say that's when the suspects ran outside, jumped into the family's car, and tried to take off. The car caught up on some rocks, spun out, but wouldn't move. So police say the suspects took off running. Officers, though, were hot on their trail. Both suspects were caught a block away. Officers say both were armed when they were captured. Investigators say they're still trying to determine if the victims also fired shots at the suspects. But thankfully, police say no one was hurt. Police tell us they have arrested 2 suspects, one of them taken to the hospital for what they're calling a medical episode. But right now, those 2 suspects are facing a long list of charges out here today as detectives work to figure out exactly what happened. For now, reporting on the southwest side, Vanessa Croy, KENS 5.
American Heart Month is winding down, but experts say as more people come down with heart disease, we should be focusing on our heart health every day. As Jeremy Baker reports, you can do that at the San Antonio Zoo.
Coming to the San Antonio Zoo as a kid to see the gorillas here at Congo Falls may get your blood pumping, but as an adult, what if you have a problem with your primary pumper, your heart? The zoo says you can check your heart health out here too.
I know my blood pressure and I know that I have it under control, but it's something that's in the back of my mind all the time.
Teresa Spies is the executive director of the American Heart Association of San Antonio. She says her mother had a heart attack when she was just 42.
I know that this is something that we have in our genes and we're taking control of our health.
The health care and well-being of all the animals in our care is so important, and it's at the heart of everything we do every day. And we've got millions of guests that visit the zoo every day, and we care about their health and well-being as well.
That's why this partnership between the San Antonio Zoo, the American Heart Association, and the Methodist Healthcare System is needed to ensure that machines like this one installed today are available to the entire San Antonio community, an accessible self-measure blood pressure station.
You can get a snapshot of your heart health with this device, and it only takes seconds.
Cardiovascular disease is the #1 cause of death in the United States. And so we're equipping San Antonians to take charge of their health and proactively measure their blood pressure.
Here in the U.S., every 40 seconds, somebody has a stroke, often caused by uncontrolled blood pressure. And here in Bexar County, 1 out of 4 people could be walking around with high blood pressure, and they don't even know it.
You have to take continuous readings to get a full picture of your heart health.
The San Antonio Zoo says your health is no monkey business. To find out more about the blood pressure monitor and other ways the San Antonio Zoo wants to keep your health in check when you come to visit, check out this story on KENS5.com. From the city's north side, Jeremy Baker, KENS 5.
Rodeo season is in full swing, but the rides, food, and concert tickets can all add up to a big price tag at the end of your night. As Roxy Van Ruten reports, there's a way to stretch your dollar and have a great time.
Well, let's rodeo, San Antonio! On a normal day, adult ground admission is about $15. If you buy online, it's $13. Kids are $5, seniors are $5, military and college students get in free. But on Thursday, it drops to just $3, and many rides and select food items are discounted too. That means that you can get the kids through the gate, ride a few rides, grab a snack, and spend way less than you would any other night. And once you're in, a lot of the fun is already covered. Pig races, the petting zoo, Little Buckaroo Farm, the Texas Wildlife Expo, even the family fair area, all included with grounds admission. We caught up with Chris Derby in the petting zoo where families were already taking advantage.
Yeah, we're coming into the final weekend. We're so excited. We have so many great offers out here for families to come on out and enjoy their time. Right now we're in the petting zoo, but if you come on out Thursday, it's Thrifty Thursdays. It's $3 grounds admission, $3 carnival rides, and $5 food offers in the carnival.
The 2026 San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo runs through March 1st. Grounds open at 9 a.m. daily. The carnival opens at 4 on weekdays and 10 on weekends. If you're planning to see the rodeo and concert inside the Frost Bank Center, remember, it's cashless. If you've been waiting for the right night to go, Thursday will make it a little easier on your wallet. Roxy Van Ruten, KENS 5.
And that's the news in San Antonio.
Hi, I'm Leslie Adamy in Corpus Christi, and here's a look at some of what's happening in South Texas. After flames tore through a Padre Island marina, recovery is already underway. One of the area's most popular waterfront restaurants is back open despite the damage surrounding it. Our Lydia Herrera shows us how the coastal favorite escaped the worst.
Even with the smell of smoke in the air and the sound of repairs underway, it hasn't slowed customers like Ben Larson from showing up.
It's great that people can come down and just try to move forward. They can clean it up and rebuild, and people can still come down to the area and enjoy a nice meal, lunch or dinner.
Larson doesn't live here anymore, but he and his parents visit every year, and they couldn't believe the damage left behind from Monday morning's massive fire.
And it's really sad to see whatever happened. A couple of buildings further back look like they were saved.
Sunset Island CEO Steve Gottberg grateful that the fire just missed the restaurants.
And if you knew the number of stages I've gone through, as I'm sure many other people have over the last 48 hours, I think once I first got here, my first thoughts were, thank you, Lord, for a north wind. It was literally about this distance from my office to where the fire flames were, and because of the north wind, we're protected.
With spring break right around the corner, Gottberg says they're working quickly to get everything repaired.
There was a little more damage across at the fuel dock than we had anticipated at first, but we are going to open up in stages where at least the boat ramp and people going out fishing, we can get that open as quickly as possible.
Confident that with the community support, the area will bounce back even stronger.
My understanding is I don't think there's any loss of lives. Nobody got hurt bad either, which is good. That alone is fine. Property can be replaced, and a lot of marker 37 looks like was untouched or minor damage.
And during President Trump's State of the Union address on Tuesday night, he put a national spotlight on a hero with local ties. Petty Officer Scott Ruskin, a Coast Guard rescue swimmer based here in Corpus Christi, saved 165 lives in last year's devastating Hill Country floods.
As the waters threatened to sweep her away, 11-year-old Millie Kate McClymont closed her eyes and prayed to God. She thought she was going to die. Those prayers were answered when Coast Guard rescue swimmer Scott Ruskin descended from a helicopter above. Nobody knew where he came from. It was Scott's first ever rescue mission, a young guy, but very brave, very, very top, always top in his class. And he lifted not just Millie Kate, but 164 others to safety.
And standing right beside Ruskin, little Millie Kate McClellan. She was one of the campers rescued that horrific day of the floods. The event was the first time the two reunited since that day, as he was awarded one of the military's highest honors.
Petty Officer Ruskin, I'm pleased to inform you that I am now awarding you the Legion of Merit for extraordinary heroism, which is what it was, extraordinary heroism. Thank you.
President Trump is expected to touch down in Corpus Christi on Friday in what will likely be his first trip following his address to Congress and the nation. And some big congratulations are in order for a family from Freer. The Garza girls went for the win on the national stage at Family Feud. They did so while representing South Texas on the television game show. Their hometown fans cheering them on every step of the way. The sisters secured both rounds, taking home the $20,000 reward. And we are cheering for them as they head to round 3 in April. The Garza girls also representing the popular South Texas hunting hub, the Muy Grande business there in Freer. Big congratulations to them. And that's a quick look at some of what's happening here in South Texas.
Hi, I'm Brennan Gurley, and here's what's making headlines across East Texas. After hours of response from crews across Smith County, Lindale Fire Department officials say that the fire near Highway 69 has since been contained thanks to a multi-agency effort. CBS 19's Robert De La Garza has the story.
Fire crews were called to the 12,200 block of FM 3271 as fast-moving fires were spreading towards homes. Residents were asked to evacuate voluntarily while crews worked to contain the flames.
There was a firefighter and he told me, "You can't come up here." And I said, "My mom is in the house. I have to go get my mom." And he said, "Get in and get out."
Beth Juarez says she was out running errands when she returned to see fire departments surrounding her neighborhood.
You know, when things like this happen, there's no time to grab anything, and then that's a terrifying place to be in. So
the Smith County Fire Marshal's office says the fire started from a controlled burn they believe wasn't fully extinguished Monday.
Steps need to be taken. They can't just be left to burn out all the time, because this will happen, especially on a day that the humidity is down to 25% and the wind's blowing.
Smith County Fire Marshal Chad Hogue says strong winds and gusts up to 35 miles per hour helped push the fire towards structures, forcing evacuations.
Going the wind speed today, the fuel load on the ground, the topography, that was a decision made by some of the first arriving fire units, and I think it was the right decision. And
surrounding departments responded, including Lindale Fire and Smith County ESD 1 and 2. Video shows aerial units assisting with Tuesday's wildfires.
We're calling it contained at this point, but the weather is still not working in our favor with the wind. We're going to continue to work on it throughout the night.
Assistant Chief Troy Pritchard with the Lindale Fire Department says a quick response helped save over 80 homes.
This could have been catastrophic. This could have been a really nightmare scenario for this area.
He estimates anywhere from 30 to 50 acres causing minor exterior damage, but no major structural loss.
But we hope everyone understands how much we were able to save and what the crews were able to do today. All these crews that are on there, everybody deserves praise.
Friends, family, and the community joined together Wednesday for funeral arrangements for former Smith County Judge Quincy Beavers Jr. They gathered at the St. James CME Church for his homecoming service. Beavers was recognized for decades of public service, including 30 years in law enforcement, and for making history as Smith County's first black justice of the peace. Family and friends remembered him as a man deeply committed to serving others, both in and out of the courtroom.
And he went above and beyond the call of duty. Anything else he could do. You know, he was always looking for opportunities to help somebody. But the justice of the peace gave him the power to help people that perhaps had not been helped.
Beavers resigned as the Justice of the Peace in 2022 due to health concerns. He passed away February 12th. He was 83. Tyler is mapping out what the next 20 years could look like, and they're leaning on community input to help shape that vision. It's all part of the Tyler Tomorrow Comprehensive Plan, a long-term guide for how the city handles growth like traffic, housing, parks, and infrastructure. City leaders got a first look at that presentation on Wednesday. The plan will serve as a framework for future decisions with built-in flexibility and regular reviews to adjust as the city grows and changes in the next 2 decades.
We want to make sure that we have a plan that is flexible enough, is inclusive enough, but also flexible enough to make sure that we're agile, but that we are planning, we are keeping the main things at the forefront that we want to focus on.
This is the first major update since the mid-2000s. The Planning and Zoning Committee is set to hear this plan next Tuesday, and city leaders will approve the plan at the March 25th City Council meeting. For now, city leaders say this plan is about managing growth in the Rose City while maintaining Tyler's quality of life. And that's a wrap of your East Texas headlines. I'm Brennan Gurley.
Texas News Now is sponsored by Germania Insurance.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.